Hello everyone, I am Niharika Tiwari from Sociobits, and today at Sociobits Talks, I am with Mr. Deepak Pareek, the CEO of AgriWatch, passionate about agriculture and a global tech influencer who has been recognized by the World Economic Forum as a technology pioneer in 2018. Thank you for joining me today, Deepak. It's a pleasure to have you at Sociobits.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you, Niharika. Good to be here.
So Deepak, could we start off with understanding your journey from having a job to being a founder to an investor?
Okay. So the whole idea of being in a job, we all know that we have to earn our living. So I was in job, started my career long back with Exim Bank, worked with a lot of corporates, and 2008 I came across in a very small interaction with the then Chief Minister of Gujarat and current Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi. And we work very closely with the CMO to use social media with the concept of CM to CM, that is common man to the Chief Minister using social media. And that galvanized my thought process that a lot can be achieved by using data and social media when you are keen to reach out to people. And that is where in 2011, I took a plunge as an entrepreneur, created my first company called Honeybee, which was a social media data platform, and exited that in 2015. Eventually, agriculture got into my heart. When you used to read newspaper, whether it is in Jakarta or India, you'll see either farmers are killing themselves or others, right? The challenge was deep-rooted, and I said, my understanding of data science and technology can be utilized to solve some of their challenges. And that is where I created my first AgTech ventures called Micro. And after that, exited that, created another, exited that, and now I'm investor, as you rightly said. I invest in some of the companies. I also sit on various boards of some of the accelerators, incubators. Also co-founded a venture capital company called Bensai 10, and focused on still AgTech and food tech.
Okay, so wow, that's a lot. So if you have to describe Deepak Pareek in a line, what would that be?
Oh, that's a super question. So bundle of energy, who is passionate and compassionate both.
That was short and sweet.
Thank you.
So you also mentioned that you got into agriculture. How did you, what made you so interested and passionate about agriculture?
Right. So in 2014, I was looking at something to do in my life which would have some social impact as well. And fortunately for me, I was not knowing much about agriculture, except that food comes from agriculture. But still, that is better than today's generation, which believes food comes from Zomato and Swiggy, right? But our farmers grows it, and agriculture is where the food comes from. So I started understanding the sector, traveled all the way from Papua New Guinea to Ghana, stayed with the farmers, understood their problems. And I could see that there is a lot of challenge because information is very critical and empowering in agriculture. And unfortunately, those who need it the most, that is the farmers, they don't have access to it. Information is limited in hands of very few people and centralized to governments, to corporates. And then I see that there is a huge value where people like me who understand technology can intervene and can ensure that all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, especially those who are in need of it the most, those at the base of the pyramid, can leverage these and ensure that their standard of life improves. And that started motivating me because you're talking about just in Southeast Asia, 300 million farmers, and if you see, majority of them actually they are always below the poverty line, and the impact could be huge. So one is impact. Second, to give a better world to my next generation. I have a son, and I don't want him to live in a world where actually the water is not there, air is polluted, and the food he's eating, it gives him more cancer than actually nutrients. So I believe it's my due to the next generation, and this is where I believe the passion for agriculture, helping the farmers, getting a good food on the table of people became the life mantra rather than just a business.
And can you explain a little more, how is tech helping agriculture?
Sure. So for example, I'll give an example from my own company, AgriWatch. So the challenge is that farmer, when he wants to go and sell his produce, we always say poor farmer. The reason is that because when he goes to sell his produce, he doesn't know actually at what price he will be able to sell, because he doesn't have access to information. So he just lands up with his tractor full of say soya bean or wheat or rice in front of mandi, and then he depends just on God, government or the trader. right? And this is not a great situation because whenever you are manufacturing something as an industrialist, you know actually at what price you will be selling it. Now, if you are able to empower the farmer with right sort of information, even before the sowing, for example, we gave the farmer that in case they are going sugarcane, what is the realization going to be? If they go cotton, what is the realization going to be? They take a choice based on data and insight, what I should be growing, which ensure he gets more money in his pocket when he's selling the produce. Now, how do we come to these numbers? Like, how do we know that what will be the prices? We do have a lot of analytics involved in that. So historical prices, demand, supply, yields. Then while the crop is in progression, we also use remote sensing to find what is the health of the crop. Based on that, we are always able to revise and tell the farmer what is the expected cost or expected market price of a specific commodity. And this helps farmer for sure. This helps a small trader. This helps everybody who is not empowered. And this is where I believe tech is playing a big role. Now, other than AgriWatch, if you see the companies like Cropin, right, company like AgroStar, company like Stellabs, which are using artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, they are able to advise farmer, right, across the process of their cultivation itself. So when to grow, how to grow, what to grow, this type of information is available. Then advisory at the right time, right, that what is the chances of infestation by pest and what is the recommendation to take care of it. Similarly to other ecosystem players, for example, a bank, which farmer to lend to, right, and what is the responsible lending. Typically, through a smart agri financial models, they are able to do that. Or for example, Stellabs, it is helping the complete value chain of milk, from all the way from a farmer who is having a herd to your table, complete traceability of the milk. So it gives you good, right, clean, safe milk to drink. At the same time, give more money in the hands of the farmer. So all these interventions, I believe, is impacting hugely complete ecosystem of agriculture.
But like you mentioned that farmers, we always mention or associate poor with it. So how what is the acceptance that you kind of, are they okay with trying something new? They won't be familiar with the tech and everything, right?
Right. So you rightly mentioned that if we just go by data, numbers, you'll find that farmers are not adopting in big numbers. So currently I'll say that the 13% of farmers would be having some sort of intervention when it comes about technology. I'm talking about India. Globally, the number is still lesser. So India is still doing a little bit better there. Now the million-dollar question is that why farmer is not adopting a technology? See, in 1960s, you told him that you use fertilizer, you'll become rich. Then in 70s, 80s, we said that you use pesticides, you'll become rich. Then in 90s, we said that you use mechanization, you'll become rich. Same time, we told them you use GMO seeds or GMO products and you'll become rich. He has never become rich, right? So he has lost a little bit of hope. And that's why he validates every thought that, okay, fine, first show me the value. So now we are going and telling him that use technology and you'll become rich. So he takes it with a pinch of salt and he evaluates it. So those technology which are able to actually demonstrate successfully that he is either making more money, he become more comfortable. See, tractors, right?
Correct.
During COVID, we sold the total growth in tractor industry was far more than automobile industry. So farmers still buying tractor because they can see straight away the value. So if all these technologies are able to display to the farmer the value, right? Surely they adopt it. But unfortunately, we live in fool's paradise and say that you're having a blockchain will solve your problem, and then we dish out a blockchain-based solution to him. He has no clue how it is going to help. So we have to ensure that we are able to demonstrate value for technology, and I believe farmers love new technology for sure, provided you show the value.
So let's move a little to the investor side of yours. So if you are to invest in a startup, okay, so is there anything that you would like to point out to them, you do this and don't do that, like a set of tips for them?
Right. So those who intend to invest in AgTech domain, I would say first of all, based on current market scenario, if you don't understand agriculture properly, right, go to those who are little bit established players, right, who are already having revenue, who have already shown traction, and unit economics is the metrics they have to look at. I am not a big fan of GMVs, right, where actually you just talk about the merchandise value which has gone through the platform. I am more of if they are able to demonstrate the unit economics. Because going forward, you'll need more profitable companies than just those companies which are having high revenue. Profitability is going to become a very critical part of it. So go for those companies which are established, having positive unit economics, and have maybe profitability being shown on their projections in next 2 to 3 years. So that would be my suggestion to the new investors. Now, those who understand agriculture, I am nobody to explain to them what they should do, because I myself have learned a lot from those type of people.
Mm-hmm. So, do you only invest in Agri Tech startups or any startup?
No, my focus is AgTech and food tech. So that is where actually, whether it's about me as an individual or with those groups or associations I'm working with for investment, I focus on AgTech and food tech because that is the only field I understand.
Okay, and if you're looking for a good founder, what are the qualities that you look for?
Right. Again, I'll restrict myself to AgTech and food tech because I believe founders in this sector need to be a little bit different than the founders in the other sector. While there might be some converging areas where you'll find that all the founders need to have that and everybody knows about it, so I don't talk about it. But in AgTech, first thing is that you have to be compassionate about agriculture itself. Secondly, I would love those founders who would love to roll up their sleeves, right, and get into the farms. Without being on the farms, talking to farmers, believe me, you won't get the right solution, right? Even if you're making solution for a bank or a enterprise related to AgTech, you need to understand the perspective of the farmer. So those farmers who are ready to be on farms, fields, interact with the farmer, and not just for photo ops, but actually maybe 7 days every month, going and talking to farmers and being with them, that is very important. Third thing is that you have to be compassionate about the problem you are solving. Agriculture is having so many challenges. You cannot think about so-called holistic solution for everything, right? So I'll be able to solve everything. No, you'll have to pick your battle, and you have to ensure that you are best in solving those challenges and be victorious in those battles. So I'll say that focus, as I said, being with the farmers and ensuring they're having compassion for the sector. These are 3 very critical things which I would look in any founder.
You also mentioned repetitively that you have a lot of knowledge about the Agri Tech industry. So could you point out some of the challenges that anyone in the Agri Tech industry has faced?
So you use expert. I would say I'm a good student, right, who's learning, right? I believe nobody can be expert in anything related to agriculture. It's such a vast field. Mm-hmm. So I am a good student and I learn every day. Right? That's the one part of it. Unfortunately, your ultimate end user farmer is already at the base of the pyramid, right? We have to ensure that he's one of the poorest guy. If he's standing in front of the audience of 100 people, right? He'll be the 99th or 100%, right? When it comes to the economic capability. So you have to devise a model where the technology is able to create sufficient value so that farmer is able to pay back, right, of whatever been invested, or the ecosystem, whether it is through government, whether it is corporate, or whether it is through those who are part of the ecosystem, pay for what farmer is adopting. So that's very, very critical area. So that's one big challenge, who pays for the technology adoption. And unfortunately, farmers straight away is not capable of doing it. So somebody else will have to put that check and ensure that technology is on the ground, then farmer will definitely eventually will pay for it. A second challenge is that because food is a social, political and economical question, right? So you will always have government interventions, you will always have also that one part of whether the brain versus heart, right, always there. Sometimes it overwhelms the founder, where you start thinking that actually I'm doing something which is of social impact. You start losing the vision of that he's also an entrepreneur. He has to run his company, he has to pay the salaries, right? He has to take care of all the bills which comes on 31st or 30th of every month. So that is another challenge because people get go with the flow and become too socialist in trying to solve the problem. And I always believe that some of the biggest problem in the world, especially in agriculture, can only be solved by having right capital in the place. So that you need an entrepreneur to focus on enterprise. So that's another challenge. And third, I believe everybody think he knows about agriculture because it's a very easy subject. Right? Everybody knows about wheat, rice, because we eat every day, we see it every day. So people start believing that they know a lot. While it is very important that a lot of people need to understand what they don't know. Right? And this is where I believe the modern technology digitization is helping, where it is removing assumptions from the decision making. And this is another challenge, I said, it is assumption-based decision making, whether it is corporate, government, or entrepreneurs, or farmers, and move it to the fact-based, data-driven decision making. So these 3 I'll say that broadly are the key challenges.
So essentially, Agri Tech should be something that should be ideated as something that helps the farmers and ultimately helps everyone, correct?
100%.
Am I on the right
100%. Anything in AgTech which is not helping farmers, eventually is not going to fly much.
So, where do you see the industry going in 5 years down the line?
Okay. I'll bifurcate this question in two parts. One is the global context, one is the Indian context. Now, starting with the micro level Indian context, we are talking about roughly, depending on which database you agree to, from 8 crore to 13 crore farmers. That is 80 million to 130 million farmers, right? Who are in India, right? India is the largest, I'll say that country with, if we go by number of farmers. So the sector is huge, right? Roughly 410 billion US dollars worth of agriculture GDP is what we are having, right? So 410 billion dollars worth of market is humongous, and this is one of the most inefficient market. Hardly any digitization. Scale is huge, so it's create a huge opportunity, right? Roughly, you are calculating that $16 per farmer is what would be in next 3 to 4 years. The value the tech sector would be able to draw from agriculture. So you multiply 130 million with the $16. You know what number I'm talking about. This is what you see the size of the tech market going forward. Now coming to global perspective, typically what you say that current market would be something around 13.8 billion US dollars, growing around 16 to 17%. That also create a huge, humongous opportunity. Predominantly, the technology development or implementation is happening in Europe and US, but their challenges, problems, or statements are different. But going forward, I believe Southeast Asia would be the biggest market, followed by Africa, and this is where you find that a lot of traction, a lot of startups will be coming in. And I am I'm having no doubt that this market is going to become something around 30 to 40 billion US dollars over the next 4 to 5 years.
That's huge, actually.
That's phenomenal.
So, although you told that you're a student, still a student and not an expert, so being an investor, being an entrepreneur, having a job, what would you like to tell the young entrepreneurs? Any message, something that we should keep in our minds?
See, don't be an entrepreneur because there is a glamour. Just because you find someone wearing a t-shirt in one of the conferences saying that I only date founders, right? Just don't go with that glamour, right? You have to have focus on that. Really you want to solve that problem? That's one. Secondly, if you want to solve that problem, do you believe that there exists need for that solution, right? Because sometimes we end up picking a wrong problem and trying to solve it, and then we fatigued out, we get burnt out. So identification of right problem which needs solution is very important. And third, in EdTech, you have to have patience and you'll have to have compassion both, right? Definitely it is a socially impactful sector, right? So just having plain old vanilla thought process of you said 3-6-9, 3 months create a prototype, 6 months test it in the market, 9 months either scale up or close down. No, just one cycle in agriculture is 6 months. Right, if you are Kharif, Rabi, right? So in 3 months you won't achieve anything. So cycles are a little bit long. So if you are ready to stay there for a longer duration, then only get into EdTech.
And even in general, I think patience is quite important, right, for an entrepreneur.
100%. An entrepreneur need to, I'll just follow his ego and be patient.
So thank you so much for joining us, Deepak. It was a very meaningful conversation. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.
I loved it. I love this conversation, and the best thing is that actually there are no predefined questions. So we had this great interaction and loved it. Thank you.